and welcome to Learning from Nature, the Biomimicry podcast, with me, your host, Lily Ehrman. This new series is all about highlighting biomimetic and bio-inspired companies that are leading the way in helping to create a life-friendly future with nature as mentor and measure. I want to showcase the people doing the hard work of translating nature's genius to human design, and ultimately celebrate the potential of this field. GreenPod Labs is an India-based agricultural biotechnology startup focused on extending the shelf life of produce at ambient temperature by learning how fruits and vegetables naturally resist pest and fungal pathogens. My guest today, Deepak Rajmohan, is the founder and CEO of GreenPod Labs. He received a master's in food science from Oklahoma State University and worked as a food scientist with Danone. He has more than 8 years of research experience in food biotechnology and agriculture and shares so many wonderful insights in this conversation. Thanks so much for joining me, Deepak. Will you please introduce yourself?
Sure. So thanks, Lily. Thanks for the opportunity. Really appreciate being here. Deepak Rajmohan. I run this company called the GreenPod Labs. It's a Greek tech startup. We develop solutions to minimize food wastage and food losses in India and other developing countries. So that's what we do. So.
Amazing. And this is a really cool company that I'm excited to explore more with you. Can you give us a short definition of how you define biomimicry or learning from nature?
Sure. So I think from my perspective, right? So biomimicry is more of like you learn different aspects of nature, be it a design of nature or the structure of nature or materials of nature, and then use that in different forms and factor for solving a problem. So you have different stages of that. So it can be a organization level, it can be a systemic level, and it can be a ecosystem level, and you can learn from nature from all these three different levels of biomimicry, and then you implement that on real world problems. So that's exactly how I would resonate with biomimicry.
Amazing. And you have a company that is in this space. How did that start? Where did the idea for GreenPod Labs originate? Yeah, I want to hear more.
For sure. See, I think have been so by training. I'm a food scientist by training, so I've spent about like 5 years in US. So I have a bachelor's in agricultural engineering, and then I did my master's in food science in the US, and worked as a food scientist for a couple of years. During my master's in the US, I worked on few projects to minimize the food byproducts from food industries. So I was helping wine industries and beer industries to minimize their byproducts. That's when I got into the ecosystem of food waste per se. That just opened up a huge window of opportunity. It just gave me a perspective of like what's the volume of problem we are looking at, and then one led to another. Just started digging deeper. Come on, dig deep! And then understood that like the about one third of food produced globally is lost or wasted before it reaches a consumer. That was a massive factor.
Before it even reaches the consumer? Is that what you just said?
That's right. That's right. Yeah,
Whoa,
that's right.
that's massive. That's a huge number.
Yeah, yeah, it's a massive number, and it accounts for about 8% of global greenhouse gas emission. So if you consider food waste or food losses as one of the countries, it's a third highest greenhouse gas producing country.
Wow.
It's a massive problem. And when I started digging deeper, I started breaking it into two different segments of like developing countries and developed countries. So if you look at a country like US or Europe, which is a developed markets, you have about 35% of losses after it reaches the consumer. Whereas in developing markets like India and other African and Asian countries, about 40% is lost before it reaches the consumer.
Well, that's insane.
So in developing markets in US and Europe, it's more of a consumer behavior problem, whereas in India and other developing markets, it's an infrastructure problem. So that was very interesting for me. So I mean, it's super hard to solve a consumer behavior problem, but it's way more possible to solve the infrastructure problem. So that's how I got started. I felt like it's worth giving a shot to solve this problem. Especially me being from India, I felt like going back to the country and then doing something there would be meaningful. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's how we got started. Came back from US in 2019 and started the company in 2020, and then yeah, it's been about three and a half years now.
So, GreenPod Labs is really cool because it's tackling this challenge, and I want to know the inspiration behind the product. What does the product do, and what does it mimic or copy or borrow lessons from in nature?
For sure. So our product comes in a small sachet form. It's like whenever you buy like a leather bags and leather shoes, you find the small silica gel packet, right? So the product form is very similar to that, but with our proprietary formulation. So we use plant extracts and plant polymers to activate the immune system within the fruit and vegetable to extend the shelf life during transport and storage. So rather than controlling the exterior atmosphere, controlling the temperature, controlling the humidity, we control the internal biochemistry systems to extend the shelf life. By doing that, we our product is not dependent on cold storage, cold supply chain. So availability of cold storage, cold supply chain in developing markets is very low. So you have a solution which can work at ambient temperature. So there's no energy cost required. There's no like infrastructure needed. The inspiration for the product, right? So I've worked on this technology called active packaging for meat products in US. So we were developing different products for extending the shelf life of meat. One of the technology was active packaging. So I had at least a good amount of understanding on active packaging, but I was just evaluating what's possible. I stumbled upon this science called defense mechanism in a fruit and vegetable. That just came by one of my attention to nature. Like so, there's a plant called Touch Me Not, where if you touch that plant, it'll fold its own leaves, and then it'll appear to be more like it's dead. So there's a influx reactions to the exterior stimuli, right? So that just gave me a inspiration. Like, okay, so if this is happening, what else a plant can do? Like, what else it can adapt to? And then I that's when I got into this rabbit hole of like plant defense mechanism, so which is very similar to a human immune system. How our human immune system can fight against external stress. Fruit and vegetable has its own immune system which can fight against external stress, and there's a communication platform where one plant can communicate to the neighboring plant saying that there is a stress what's happening and be protected of that. So we started replicating that. So that's how our product works now. So our product replicates a plant's communication system. So we would release volatile compounds, which acts as a signal molecule to activate the defense mechanism with the fruit and vegetable. So that's how we extend the shelf life.
That's so cool. And so, what does this product look like? Maybe I'm just having a hard time imagining. So, it's this little sachet. Do you need to dissolve it and spray the stuff, or you just sit it next to it and it releases these volatile compounds?
That's right. So you drop these sachets inside of fruit or vegetable boxes. So
Okay.
we operate on B2B. So we work on like large scale shipments. So our typical volume in which the fresh produce are transported is about like 40 pounds. So in a container, in a small container, if they're packing about 40 pounds, you drop like one or two sachets in that, and that moves throughout the supply chain.
Wow, that's cool. What are you seeing as far as results as, with shelf life? You're saying it's extending shelf life. If can you dive a little deeper into what the issue around shelf life even before the consumer looks like and how this is addressing that?
Yeah, I mean, just going a little more deeper on the science side, right? So a fruit or vegetable is classified into two different categories. So there's a classification called climatic fruits and vegetables, and there's a classification called non-climatic fruits and vegetables. A fruit and vegetable which ripens after harvest comes under the classification of climatic fruits and vegetables. So this is like your bananas, mangoes, tomatoes. All these are like ripens after harvest. So those come under climatic fruits and vegetables. There are non-climatic fruits and vegetables like your strawberries and pineapples and grapes and stuff, which does not ripen after harvest. So that's another segment of it. So the spoilers are different for these two different categories. So either a fruit or vegetable would get spoiled by over ripening, or it'll get spoiled because of microbial growth at ambient conditions. So we're talking
Hmm.
about temperatures of like 100 to 100 and 110 Fahrenheit. So that's the ambient temperatures what we are talking about. At that temperatures, the two major spoilage is because of over ripening or because of microbial growth. So our product would control that. So just to show you, like, this is how the product looks like. So these are the sachets what we develop, and these sachets are dropped inside a fruit or vegetable crate, and then this would release volatile compounds, and that's what would help extend the shelf life.
So basically, those fruits and vegetables already have the defense mechanisms in the fruit skin or the fruit flesh once they've been picked. Because in my brain, and maybe this is a silly question,
Ask a silly question.
they have to still be on the plant that's producing the fruit in order to get the and receive those defense chemicals that will then protect against mold or going bad quicker. But I guess it makes sense that they would exist when they're off the plant as well. So those fruits and vegetables already have those defense mechanisms in there, and this assay just kind of triggers it.
That's right. No,
Okay.
great question, right? So you're saying is on the reality true. So when the fruit and vegetable are on the mother plant, so the communication platform between one plant and another plant is active, and it is so even if it's plucked out, it's still live, and the defense mechanism is there, and it respires and ripens. Everything is there, but the communication platform is not active. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what we replicate through our product. So whatever a mother plant does, so we're replicating that through our
Mm-hmm.
product. So our product would provide a similar volatiles, and then that would activate the defense mechanism.
Okay, cool, cool. That's amazing. And it seems like such a simple idea, which are the most efficient, the most elegant, strategies in nature are sometimes these like really seemingly simple ideas. And so I love this that, if you're working direct with farmers or transporters, all they have to do is just drop this little thing in there and it protects the fruit from going bad. That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, see, from our perspective, right? So we wanted to make sure that we don't disrupt anything into the supply chain. So with respect to packaging or any more add-ons to the supply chain, so that creates friction. So when
Hmm.
there's more friction, you won't be able to scale the solution faster. So we wanted to have a solution which can would have zero friction and then would solve the problem. So that's how we looked at it. And from our perspective, right? So if you truly believe you want to solve the problem, you need to solve it with scale. If you're solving it in a small level, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And that unfortunately is the case for a lot of biomimicry products. And so it's cool to hear you say that, you really took that system and, the existing structures into consideration as you were thinking about this solution. I'd love to hear more about the hurdles that you've experienced in as far as both prototyping and kind of getting this to market. But actually, maybe first, if we can back up and you can share about where you're at in market. Are you mass producing these? Do you have a few partnerships that you've really honed in on? And then we'll get to the hurdles later. So yeah, share more about kind of where you're at right now.
Yeah, for sure. So we've already commercialized about four products in the market. So we work with close to about like 200, 250 clients. So
Wow.
these are across like pilot to commercial customers. So we've also done pilots internationally. So we've worked in Kenya, Philippines, Nepal, Bangladesh. So outside India, we've done pilots in these international markets as well. So yeah, that's more where we are. So we were in R&D for about 2.5 3 years, and then from there we started commercialization.
Wow. And so you've really experienced an interest in this. It sounds like there's a need for it.
Yeah, no, so we are able to provide a 4 to 5x ROI for our customers. By using the product, they're getting a 4 to 5x ROI on the
Wow.
commercials. So that's what is scaling up. So I think beyond a point, just talking about sustainability or food waste is not gonna make the cut. So you have to provide the economic benefit for people to use it in a large scale. So yeah.
Yeah, totally. Are you excited about the potential of biomimicry and want to begin your own journey in this field? Take the short course set from Learn Biomimicry and kickstart a nature inspired future. Use my code Learning from Nature, that's all one word with no spaces, to save $60 when you purchase the Biomimicry short course set. Just head over to learnbiomimicry.com/learningfromnature. Great. So yeah, what have been some hurdles as far as getting to this point? Because it sounds like it's a great idea. You've come so far. It's a, this little product that does this really great function, and it's been an easy process. So
Yeah.
shed some more light on what that process has been, and if you've faced some hurdles as far as introducing it or getting people to be on board or creating it. Any of those chapters.
Yeah, so the R&D was definitely most challenging. See, I think from all different angles, we have set up ourselves in the most most challenging situation ourselves. So we wanted to make sure we don't use any chemicals in the product. We wanted to make sure the product works across all different temperatures, all different humidities. We wanted to make sure that the product is customized for each commodity, but it's not customized for each variety. So we wanted to make sure we provide a shelf life extension of at least 50%. So I think we set ourselves in the most challenging spot in all different directions. But to be on a fair side, like if you don't do that, we won't be able to sell the product. So
Mhm.
it's more of like if you don't deliver this value, no one's going to buy it. So that's how it is.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest challenge what we had is like when we are trying to replicate a biomimicry nature is very dynamic. So if you have a product which just works dynamic, then that's a huge problem. So then it's not reliable. You won't be able to look at a predictability. You won't be able to make sure it works across all different directions. So you've learned a dynamic system, but you need to convert that into a linear system. That itself
Mm.
is huge challenge. It sounds very simple, but I think that was one of the biggest challenge, right? So just to give you an example, right? So a fruit, when it's transported in 100 degree Fahrenheit, it'll have a certain amount of respiration rate, ripening rate, transpiration rate, and then when it drops suddenly to a, let's say, a 60-degree Fahrenheit or 65-degree Fahrenheit, then the internal biochemistry would change. Then it can go to probably 90% humidity and then 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So again, the biochemistry changes. So our product has to work across all these conditions during the supply chain to provide the maximum value. So how do you deliver a product and make sure the crop spoilage is controlled, irrespective of all these variations in temperatures? And the growth climatic conditions are very diverse. So
Mhm.
you would have growth conditions in northern part of India completely different from a southern part of India. So the soil conditions are different, crop is different, the growth metrics are different, but your product has to work both in north and south. So you need to adapt yourselves to those areas, and you need to make sure you're working on plant-based ingredients, so you need to make sure those plant ingredients are consistent. I think it was to say it on short, it's quite challenging for us to
Yeah.
navigate this, but I think what we wanted to do is like we wanted to build a process system to replicate this as much as possible. So that's what
Mhm.
we've done. So we built our R&D process called Rapid Prototyping Platform, which is a platform which helps us develop any new product in less than 2 months. So any product or like product for any new crops, from idea to a soft launch, we'll be able to do it in less than 2 months. So that took us a lot of time and trial and error and effort. So
Are there different packets for different fruits and vegetables? Can you give a little bit more detail into, without maybe giving too much detail, because I'm sure that's part of the secret sauce, right? How you tailor that to make it work for the
yeah,
different options.
yeah, for sure. See again, the immune system is different for different commodities, right? So what pathway? So how we look at it is like if we look at a commodity, if we understand what are the spoilage happening in the commodity, we backtrack and see like what are the biochemistry pathways which is responsible for that spoilage. and can you counteract those biochemistry pathways through our product? So we need to understand each commodity. We need to understand what is a spoilage happening in that commodity, and what is a biochemistry pathways which is responsible for that spoilage, and we need to control that through our product. So the ingredients what we deliver has to work on that commodity and work exactly for those pathways which is critical. um, just to give you example, when we developed a product, let's say for grapes, so grapes, you need to control microbial growth. You need to make sure the stem or the stalk is maintained green. You need to make sure the berries don't fall off. You need to make sure there's no spoilage or shrinkage in berries. So what we understood is if you maintain the nutrition and strength of the stock, the berry quality is improved. So the biochemistry is responsible in the stalk or stem is critical to maintain the quality of the berry. So we would control the pathways and all the biochemistry is responsible on the stem, rather
Okay.
than focusing on the berry. So this is how we look at each commodity. So we have a bioinformatics team, we have a data science team, and we have a biotechnology team. So all combined is what develops the product.
That's a perfect segue because I wanted to ask you about collaboration, biomimicry, and I think even just in general, starting a company and creating a product requires a lot of collaboration. And I'm curious to, yeah, hear your thoughts on the importance of collaboration in this process, who you collaborated with, and what that looked like.
So I think for different phases of our growth, we had different um, like support system. With respect to the R&D, we built our R&D team ground up. So we built a stronger R&D team, and that really helped us. So with respect to product development and R&D, we were not dependent on external partners. We built all the products, all the process, all the data ground up by ourselves. So that was one side. But beyond that, we worked with a lot of accelerator programs. So Biomimicry Institute is one accelerator we were part of. We were part of like other accelerators like Rockstar Agri Food in Europe. We were part of like few in Singapore, UK, US, and in multiple accelerator programs. So these accelerator programs gave us a lot of visibility towards like mentorship and how do you build the company, how do you build the team, how do you build like your scale and stuff. So that really helped.
Hmm.
Beyond that, we do work with few universities in terms of product validations. So for doing product testings with them and validations with them, and we work with certain research institutes also do different validations and testings for the product. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And yeah, so product distributors. So on the commercial side, we work with different partners. So that's more on that side. But with respect to ecosystem, these are the areas what really helped us.
That's so cool. Yeah, it sounds like a really incredible product. And again, making sure that it fits into the system, I think is one of the biggest hurdles for biomimicry.
Yeah.
And maybe this question is irrelevant, but because there's not really alternatives, but how is this product more sustainable or regenerative than conventional alternatives, which again, maybe they don't exist. And so it's pretty novel in that way.
Sure, sure. I think, see, globally, if you look at the direct alternatives would be cold storage, cold supply chain, right? Because we are replacing cold storage and cold supply chain in a lot of ways. We do work in complementary on few directions. So exports, when it happens from different countries, it's mandatory to use cold storage. So they would use our product as a complementary. But if you look at a domestic transport, cold storage, cold supply chain, we're replacing that. So from that perspective, environmental benefits, we have a significant environmental benefit, and economic benefit, we have a significant economic benefit as well. And all our ingredients are 100% natural, plant based, and we make sure the product does not leave any residue on the crop. So that's also something we definitely make sure. And in terms of overall, like more thoughtful how we are operating, right? So we help a lot of our customers to move towards more sustainable transport. So few of our exporters who are transporting fruits and vegetables over air travel, we've helped them move that to sea travel. So because we are able to extend the shelf life and maintain the quality, they're not just dependent on air travel. They're able to move it to sea travel and stuff. So the technology can leverage more of these long term benefits. But just like purely if you save the food waste itself, that itself is a massive environmental benefit.
I saved the food.
Right. There's so many benefits to this. And like you mentioned, the economic piece of maybe avoiding cold storage or making it more efficient, I think is really amazing. That's so cool. And so simple. I mean, not simple on the back end, I'm sure. You've done a lot of tweaking, but the idea of just kind of dropping a packet into with the plants and activating something that plants and the fruit already have in them, I think is just, yeah, really cool. So, how has incorporating biomimicry and this process of learning from nature, has it led to any other sort of aha moments or other ideas that have been sparked along this process of, doing biomimicry design?
Yeah, I think one thing what helped us learn faster is it's a infinite learning loop. Once you get into this, it's just like peeling an onion. It just opens up more and more and more. We keep learning something new every single day. I'll give you the start, right? So we've actually built close to about like 6 to 7 different tools just to quantify how a plant is interacting or how a plant is responding. So we had to build ground up tools and equipments to understand the crop much better. So that's the amount of knowledge what's available in nature. And it's not easy to get the sense faster. So I personally feel it just gives you a lot more leverage in terms of how you can solve more problems. So just to give you an example, right? So when we started understanding how the plant communicates, we were able to map that, saying that like how is that communicating across different conditions on the pre-harvest, and we are providing some insights to our farmers or our customers, saying that like on the pre-harvest you can control xyz to extend the shelf life. So on top of we providing our product, we're also providing advices and insights based on the learning what we've got from nature. So I think it's just like a huge opportunity, and I feel like I personally feel biomimicry is not being valued on a broader scale to greater extent yet. It has a huge potential. It definitely has a lot of challenges. There's no questions asked, right? So it's more challenging for you to get a sense of like how things operate. It's more challenging for you to understand, as I mentioned, like nature and implement nature, right? So you can learn something, and how do you implement that on the real life is day and night.
Yeah, that's the challenge. And I think this is really important. And this is a crucial conversation in this space because a lot of people in the biomimicry world are excited about this. They want to do it. They have an idea, maybe even, but then they end at the prototyping phase because they don't see the space for it in the market, or they don't see how it would fit in the existing systems, or it would require a new system. And I think that's where your deep knowledge and understanding of the transportation, the farmers to transportation, the issues and your work previously helped you kind of navigate that. And then you were able to apply biomimicry to a space that was already in the system and could be like rapidly deployed, if that makes sense. And I don't know if I'm saying this right, but I think it's important to highlight stories like this and companies like yours because you're working in the space of biomimicry, but on this broad level in the system, in the market, and able to offer something that's very usable and ready to go, but is biomimetic. And I guess all this to say it is possible and it's happening and you're doing it, which is really exciting. And that's why I was, stoked to talk to you because for so many, they're like, okay, this is cool, but how do I do it?
Yeah, 100%. No, I think that's what. You the information is available. How do you assess the information and use it in a meaningful way? Is where the game changer is.
Yeah. So I'm curious where you see GreenPod Labs in the next 10 years.
See, again, from a company perspective, we believe um, minimizing food wastage and food losses is our long-term vision and goal. So developing more solutions and products across different categories of food is what we will be interested in. So we'll be expanding on two fronts. Horizontally, we'll be expanding across more categories like so fruits and vegetables are first category. Then we'll be getting to grains and seeds, milk, meat, and food products as well. So we'll be developing products across all these commodities. And vertically, we want to expand to more countries. We right now we are in India. We want to expand to more countries in Asia and Africa, and expand towards more developing markets. So that's the plan for next 10 years. Yeah, hopefully we can make a dent on this problem.
Awesome. I'm excited to see where it takes you. And last question, Deepak, what is currently bringing you hope?
It's a great question. See, I'm definitely very hopeful that right now this generation is talking more about sustainability, talking more about the impact of climate change. Um, they're conscious of the impact what humans are bringing to the environment. Is that changing into actions? Not sure yet, but we are talking the right conversations.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely making me feel hopeful because climate change on a whole, we just taken that as more of an abstract concept, but it's a reality which is happening day in day out, and we are not addressing it to the intensity what is needed. So I'm definitely hopeful that there'll be more entrepreneurs, more innovators solving the climate related problems and use tools like biomimicry and other tools like that. Because like nature has learned this decades and decades and decades where it has figured out like how to be sustainable, how to be like more like associated with the environment and stuff. So yes, that's something I'm extremely hopeful for. I hope there'll be more people solving bigger problems and yeah, uh, take us to the much better space.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much. This has been wonderful.
Awesome.
Thanks for tuning in. This is a quick reminder that we have some really awesome nature nerd merch like shirts and stickers so you can help support the podcast and look cool on your next hike. These were custom designed by my friend and incredible artist, Sarah Williams, and they showcase the amazing range of unique organisms here on Earth. You can grab yours at learningfromnature.earth/merch. I also want you all to know how much I appreciate every review, rating, recommendation, and support, as you are all helping biomimicry reach more people. Together, we can not only imagine, but create a beautiful world with life at the forefront and guiding the way. This episode was brought to you by Learn Biomimicry. If you're wanting to start your own biomimicry journey, they have a special offer for my listeners. I've known about Learn Biomimicry for ages and actually was a mentor for one of their programs briefly a few years ago. I've seen firsthand the impact it can have on folks. This is your chance to better understand biomimicry in just 3 short courses, all with the depth of a degree and the ease of a TED Talk. Today, Learn Biomimicry has helped more than 1,679 learners from over 41 countries practice biomimicry in their personal and professional lives. They've brought biomimicry to every continent, with the exception of Antarctica, although that could change, you never know. All my listeners save $60 when you purchase the Biomimicry short course set. There's also a free ebook to get you started. Use the coupon code LEARNINGFROMNATURE with no spaces, or head to www.learnbiomimicry.com/learningfromnature. That's all one word, www.learnbiomimicry.com/learningfromnature. Happy learning!